This video was brought to you by Squarespace. No, not really. I've been working on this drawing for a while, on and off for about a few days, and it's one of those drawings where I focus a little bit more on the process and I don't record it, I don't talk, but I feel like it's been taking a little too long, so I'm going to finish it with the camera on. I will enlist you, so to speak, to help me finish it, whoever watches this video, but I will try to keep that focus, that slow, deliberate process. And even if I don't talk for stretches of time, I might fill it up with some words post-production, or just use a time lapse, because I don't want to rush it. My challenge here is to try not to change the way I focus on my work with the fact that I'm being recorded and that I'm thinking out loud. So I'm trying not to pressure myself, and I'm just thinking out loud, and whatever I say may or may not make sense. Fair warning. And I have been kind of I don't know, lazy is not a good word, kind of reluctant to do stuff lately. I mean, I'm still active, I still go out when the weather is nice. The weather has been horrible for a large stretch of time, because so it happened that I think we won the lottery of bad weather, because we traveled to Europe there and back, and when we were in Europe it was dark and cold for over a week, and it got very nice on the day we left, of course, and stayed. They actually had a heat wave after we left, so for better or for worse. But when we came back here, we had maybe a couple of nice days. It's late May. It's actually the last day of May today. But it's been just a couple of days where I could feel comfortable outside. I even went swimming in the bay. And then now it's dark and cold again. So the weather has been really testing me, and I need my hectopascals to survive. And I need sun. Well, everybody needs sun. I actually bought some vitamin D supplement, because I've been feeling off, sort of down, and also tired. But other than that, everything is fine. Just dealing with some stages of jet lag still. I have this stage of euphoria when I come back, where I'm kind of appreciating my own space, and I explore, I go out, and I kind of check on my territory. I see, go to my favorite places and reconnect with my fish in my aquariums, do some maintenance, refresh everything. And then a wave of this weird melancholy hits me, and for a couple of days I feel down. It's I call it jet lag blues. And the good thing is that it always passes, and I know that it will pass, and that actually helps me get through these waves of kind of bad mental states, I would call it, in general. But doing stuff helps like this. I have been looking into some interesting technological breakthroughs when it comes to visual effects in films, and I came across a group that has a channel on YouTube of professional visual artists, visual effect experts who make CGI and 3D animations and all sorts of effects for the movies. And they're called the Corridor Crew. Very popular channel. I think they have two channels. One of them has almost 10 million subscribers, and the first channel that they established past 10 million subscribers. They have pretty entertaining and interesting content, eye-opening in some respect, because I've learned a lot about the ways AI operates, artificial intelligence, and also very interesting tips about visual effects and how to recognize that, most of all, how to recognize that a footage or an image you're looking at is real or fake. And there are still some telltales that you can use, some kind of elements that you can recognize a fake video by, so AI. And then a lot of the kind of inner workings of how AI actually generates those images. And it kind of brought me closer to what I'm doing here, which is sort of like, they call it fractal noise. Fractal noise, which is kind of like a patchy pattern that looks like a cloudy sky, kind of black and white and grays. And what happens with AI is that the image emerges from this fractal noise based on predictive algorithm of what the prompt was, what the request was. The AI is making countless calculations based on those shapes moving around, and when the AI hits the spot, so to speak, it generates something and it makes its decision, or these shapes formed into what seems to be the closest shape to what the user prompted me to do. And so I'm thinking about this fractal noise here. I kind of feel like it's sort of unknowingly has been something that I've been doing with those drawings. So this is like I would say an analog AI. It's not as efficient in its calculations. I'm not as efficient in my calculations and speed in generating images, but I'm just the fractal noise is sort of my point of the starting point, and also the destination, because obviously I cannot generate a perfectly photorealistic kitten out of this mess. So I'm in some way stand against AI and its takeover, but in some way I'm emulating the method that it's using. Fractal noise. So it already feels like the drawing goes much smoother than when I was drawing by myself. By myself, I was coming to it at certain points, but I was kind of bored with it. And I was trying to stay disciplined, but I didn't create a schedule for it. I didn't like show up in the morning and render. Maybe if I did, I would spend, let's say, 8 hours a day on rendering these things. Who knows how far I would have come, or maybe I would be now looking at giant drawings on big pieces of paper that are rendered this way, painstakingly for hours and hours. But then I kind of lately, as I'm getting older, I steer away from like a pressure, like trapping myself into impossible amounts of labor, and I'm just kind of going along. I'm enjoying this process, but I'm not kind of setting myself up with like a giant piece of paper. Excuse the noise, the windows are open and it's quite rainy outside and noisy, and the trains are passing. Oh, speaking of noise, yesterday around 2 p.m, 2:30 maybe, around Boston area where I am, some of the people in the area heard kind of a deep and loud boom. It was like a very dull, kind of very low frequency boom, followed by an echo of some kind, like a reverberance. And I just wondered, like, that sounds like some kind of bomb went off or something. And then one of my thoughts was, I'm pretty sure that might be a meteorite striking the atmosphere. It also sounded like a breaking a sound barrier by a fighter jet. Sometimes that's very similar sound occurs, and it turned out it was a meteorite that struck yesterday around northeastern United States. It was very impressive, but some people didn't hear it, and I think it's because if you're in a noisy area, you might not be able to hear this kind of low frequency boom. It was kind of in some ways almost imperceptible. The noise was so low that it was almost imperceptible by a human ear, but there was clear feeling of like being shaken. Like I felt like there was the sound kind of went into my chest almost, like, and it was pretty impressive and scary. But that's kind of, gives you a pause, because here we are on the blue marble with pale blue dots, safe as houses, but we forget that there's a bombardment of debris from space, and some of the meteorites might or might not break in the atmosphere, and if they're large enough, they might cause huge damage. So we are kind of in a Goldilocks zone-ish, because not many of those meteorites make it to the surface of Earth, because they get absorbed by other planets when they make their way from the asteroid belt. All the especially Jupiter, the giant, its gravity, it's attracting all the debris, and it just gets obliterated on Jupiter's surface. And then also some of it, our good old moon is shielding us from. As you can see, you can look at the images of the moon's other side. There's no dark side of the moon. There's just the other side of the moon that we'd never see from Earth. That side is just punctured with countless craters from the impacts. So yeah, thank you, moon. Whenever you look up at the moon, remember that the moon is our shield too. So I'm talking and I feel like the focus is a little bit looser. Like this area here became a little bit more soft and loose, which is nice change of pace. This cauliflower-like blobs here are a little bit more black and white, I would say. Like there's a lot of white in it, which I'm going to leave it like that. But maybe here things are going to get a little bit softer. And then of course this is not planned. It's going kind of, I'm going diagonally because that's probably makes most sense if in terms of avoiding the smudge. And I'm making these diagonal stripes like a printer. And I'm kind of arbitrarily selecting the areas that will be covered with some graphite and then leaving out some of the white areas and creating gradients also. So if you look at if you check out the Corridor Crew videos, what hooked me was their series of videos about recognizing AI slop and telling it apart from genuine photos. And there's some rules that involve the way images are situated. The composition is usually perfect in AI pictures, and also the intensity of the contrast, the intensity of gray. If you blurred AI image 100%, you would get a neutral gray, whereas if you blur genuine images, you can either get something lighter or darker. So the overall spectrum of grayscale in AI is balanced because it starts out with a kind of 50-50 black to white fractal noise, and then it just coagulates into an image, preserving the same ratio of white to black. So you can see like the AI images have this perfect balance of contrast. And of course, looking at when you look at logos, like there are some weird glitchy logos on popping up on AI image sometimes, and then when you look at texts, if there's anything written in the AI image, you will see typos. And then you'll see like the crowds of people are like weird looking. There's some weird faces. There are like people with like arm growing out of their head, and or people who look oddly similar to each other, identical. Because there are some things that AI still struggles with. So I don't know how long it will take before we are actually fully 100% fooled that what we're looking at is not AI. But maybe it's coming. And what gives me hope is that humans actually are wary. They actually are putting on their skeptic's hat whenever they consume information online, and there's more and more people calling it, oh, that's AI, that's not real, that's fake. But the downside is that this situation will make people will create a generation of people that doesn't believe in anything they see, whether it's true or not. They will be skeptical about every single thing they see, and that's not good either, because there are some things that are true, legitimate information that you better off accepting. So like it's kind of a tricky thing to have evidence and to believe the evidence that you're being presented. Because in science, obviously you can confirm the evidence that the scientists give you, but you can't build a large hadron collider in your backyard just to check if the scientists tell you the truth about the behavior of particles. You can do simple things, like you can repeat a test that they've done, but then you have to trust the other multiple tests that the unrelated scientific groups did and peer review, to say like, oh, the tests here and tests here match, the results match, and therefore I'm inclined to believe the evidence. But if you're skeptical about everything, every single thing, then you're in trouble. And there are people who are skeptical about least likely things, like they don't believe COVID was a thing, they believe that COVID was just a flu. It was, to be fair, it was a form of cold. It's pretty much the same type of virus as a common cold, except it developed more resilience, more contagious nature, and also it became more effective at killing people. Those few little things that turned this strain of coronavirus, because I mean, it doesn't take much to look this information up, but coronavirus is a term for all the viruses that are related to cold virus, and they even look similar. So it's like when someone says, oh, there's no such thing as COVID because it was just a common cold. Yeah, in some way they are true, they're right, but it was a strain of common cold, that was just tiny bit more dangerous than common cold, and people still die from common cold if they have weak immunity or some underlying issues. People can die from common cold, from flu, but not in the scale that happened with COVID. And even then, the scale at which COVID was killing people was not as large as it could have been, and it could have been a total disaster. It was still a lot of tragedy, a lot of loss, but it was still not as bad as it could have been. I had COVID once, 2 years ago in March. It was a strange experience. I had it once for a week, but I took the medicine. It's called Paxlovid. I took it, and it's known to make the symptoms and the infection itself go away, but then it can rebound. So that's what happened to me. I was totally fine. I tested negative. I went for a nice walk, had a nice day, and then the next week, after the weekend, I started feeling wonky again and took a test, and there it was again. And I had another week, this time without Paxlovid, of the same misery, the same sickness. It's just kind of like a bad dream. But yeah, I just stayed put and watched a lot of YouTube. And there was not much energy to do much else, but I did find some interesting channels. I found a channel of called The Masochist, but it's in Polish. It's run by a Polish dude who does very funny reviews of the worst movies that he could come across, and they are really entertaining. So I not only got to see a good funny videos, I also found out about a large number of really badly made movies, and like kind of marveling on how did these people get funding budget for movies like that. Kind of like The Room, which is now a cult movie. There's something that makes the movie bad, but it's so bad that everybody wants to watch it and they can't look away. It's just like The Room. Hi, Mark. So The Room is a phenomenon. You can also look it up if you don't know about The Room. A movie made by one guy. He was pretty much a one-man band in the movie. He was the main character acting. He was directing it. He was writing it. He did I don't know. He did everything in this movie. And sometimes I think it was a proof that sometimes we do need help. We can't do everything by ourselves. Sometimes when we're sort of locked into our own world, we think that we can do everything by ourselves, and we don't have a second opinion or feedback from anywhere. We might proceed with a project that is doomed to fail, but we're so sure of our own greatness that we might not see it. And there's another movie, Troll 2. There was never Troll 1. Troll 2 is a movie made in America by a director from Italy who was aspiring to be, great director, like many European directors who made it in Hollywood. But he had low budget. He was not accepted by the mainstream Hollywood world, and he made his movie on low budget in Utah somewhere, and he just enlisted some amateur actors from the area, and made a pretty horrendous movie that is so bad people can't look away. It's so bad it's good. And there are like events where people are watching Troll 2 and they have the lines memorized and they quote it along with the movie. It's a phenomenon. And this director actually is still convinced that his movie is a masterpiece, and gets offended when people remind him that people watch his movie for laughs. He says that it's just sacrilegious. So I don't know, I probably haven't succeeded with my YouTube channel in terms of viewership, because maybe I haven't created anything that's either so good that people can't resist it, or so bad that people can't resist it. So like bad in a cringy way. It's not cringe enough. And then there are some videos that had more views. The old man yelling at trains has the most views. It was the same thing, drawing a blob with pencil, but also included a funny quote that I made up in the beginning. Kind of controversial quote. critiquing the Carl Sagan plaque that he designed for the Voyager probe. So I will send you to that video if you'd like to know what's that about. But because I think it was controversial in some way, but the way it started, it attracted a little bit more views than other videos. Trying to imagine if I had more views, what kind of companies would reach out to me to sponsor their products. Maybe some kind of a art supply company. We sell pencils. How about you use our pencil? I'm using a generic white pencil with no name on it. That's a great opportunity to make a placement of your company logo and put it on the pencil here, and make sure that I hold it facing upwards. Yeah, sooner or later this channel will become for sale. People will be saying, oh, that sketchy channel used to be so good and now it's sold out, so commercialized. It used to be pure and independent, free thinking, and now the author says whatever the sponsors tell him to. This video was brought to you by Squarespace. No, not really. Web design used to be a thing. It used to be like something that you learn to do. Coding, HTML and Flash videos were on top. So I learned to design website on Dreamweaver. There was a program that helped you kind of understand and design a website using HTML code. And you could actually do some coding on that program, which I didn't know how. So this program kind of was one of the first programs that helped you design websites, because the interface of the program showed you the visual side of the code, the result that the code can give you. So instead of like thinking in terms of code, you just thought about what you want to see on your website and you just build those elements as you were looking at them. So it's kind of a pretty big deal back then. But then there were a lot of glitches, because when you did this whole website visually, there were some glitches in the code that, the coder would look at the page source and they would say, there's so many unnecessary symbols here and elements of this code, because the amateur, whoever didn't know the code, just relied on the visual cues of how to build the website. But I've built many websites and actually had clients requesting that I build websites for them. I built a bunch of websites for different professionals. I was kind of a legit graphic designer, web designer, graphic designer. I even took a college course, believe it or not, in web design. We were like doing flowcharts of what links to what, and we had assignments, design a website or design a portfolio with your favorite artist's work. That was fun. And we used Dreamweaver. So like what used to be a subject that was taught at colleges now became this kind of regular Joe template based activity. Making website is kind of not a thing really professionally. Everybody can make a website, and people don't even look at websites as much. Like I have a website, I have an art website, and I feel like it's sort of, the website kind of serves me as a almost like a business card or a portal for people to just kind of take a look at what I'm up to. But most of the activity happens on Instagram, less so on Facebook, but Instagram turned into a marketplace too. So it used to be kind of a program. Instagram, I think, used to be a program for like quasi-artistic photographs for amateurs, where you could have like always square-shaped photos with filters, of like a still life or a vignette of some kind, or a landscape, or selfies. And now Instagram, when I scroll Instagram, it's like, unless you really tailor it to disappear all those ads, it's all ads. I lost sight of what the Instagram was for, and I also stopped posting my art on it because there's no point. I just had like 7 likes at most, and but yeah, I'm not posting things for likes, although it seems futile to show your art out there in the world with no limits, World Wide Web. You put your art out there, and then you struggle with the idea of exposure, and you don't reach enough people, because like I bet many people would enjoy that art, but it doesn't make it there. So even though it's open worldwide, there are guardrails that prevent people from seeing my art. It's kind of ironic. Hello world. It's like sort of, the first sentence ever spoken or written, typed on the internet, World Wide Web, was hello world, when it was first connected. And World Wide Web back then was probably like 5 people, 5 nerds in their basements, and that was the world of internet from different parts of the world. But it's still kind of like saying hello world into the void. So whenever we make a post, we say hello world, but nobody can see it. The algorithm keeps it at bay. So you get maybe a few followers, like your friends on Facebook. So when you say hello world, only your mom and your high school friend can see it. That's your world. So there's this kind of tendency that humans have to limit everything. So like when something takes off and it's like a hope for humanity, the guards come in and they say, oh, this is only for the chosen ones. We limit access now to the other ones, to the people who are not worthy of it. And the best analogy I so far was able to come up with was imagining that humans, I think I mentioned it before, that humans were able to develop a way of sustaining themselves through photosynthesis, like plants, and all they need is just water and sunlight, or any sort of full spectrum white light, right? Like LEDs can be a good grow lights. So I immediately imagined that there will be sudden divisions, and there will be humans with more power that will limit light for those who don't deserve light, and you will have to work very hard to gain your light. So let's say like they would build some kind of shaded structures over your head, and you would have to pay tax for them to lift those structures. And people will be hoarding LED lights. It'll be like shady wars. Because the way things are now, we still haven't figured out how to sustain ourselves, all of us. There are some people who don't have food or water, even though it is pretty straightforward. It's not easy to grow food, but it's simple. All we need is sunlight, water, and soil. Whereas if we had photosynthesis-based sustenance, then we wouldn't need the middleman. We would just need the sun and water. But even now, it's like theoretically, most humans could be growing some kind of food in their backyard using some fertilized soil and water. But in many places, it's actually illegal to grow your own food in your backyard. Which is like, it makes you think, like, why would it be illegal? It's because the haves will limit the resources for the have-nots. It will be too easy. It's like in a situation when you would have photosynthesis based nutrition, the haves would limit the have-nots by saying that light is not a light is a privilege, and you have to earn it.